for Abbedagge. Peach on the backside. Noah coming in as well, but Odoamne, the Meganar, moments away. Is he going to find the angle? It's 4 coming in, finding the connection. A perfect ult to kick things off.
Look, look Jayce behind. Turn on Jayce.
Going on Jayce.
Look at Cassandra. Come. Kai'Sa's coming.
Kai'Sa behind. She jumped in. No flash, nothing. Oh,
There's
Jayce,
no
flash, I can get him.
Yeah, I'm fine. I got him. Nice. Good job, you little inters.
Good job, you little inters. I love that. Hey, do you think either of these two teams could beat the Golden Guardians right now?
You know, to be
Just
honest,
throwing it out there.
I'll be completely honest as well. I think one of these teams getting destroyed by Golden Guardians is what we need right now. Because holy moly, what is this level of play going into Worlds? It's not looking good.
You know, I think it's the opposite. I think Golden Guardian needs to be destroyed by us, but you know, it's too sad.
Because then it's like extra embarrassing if, you know,
They need a wake-up call. I'm just saying. I don't know what I'm watching. Is it, you know, a bronze game that somehow has, you know, LEC names on top? I'm not entirely sure what's going on.
Hey, if we don't laugh,
I'm going ham. Like I thought I had a strong mental, but I can feel it. I'm slowly getting legitimately tilted watching this.
Yes, I don't see it
Really?
tilt with solo queue at you watching pro play. It's
you
really
barely
funny.
ever tilt, so that's interesting. So let's look at this game then and the material we have. XL, who had a bit of trouble in the bot lane again, I think, going into this game, Guldborg, but they were able to turn it around.
Yeah, I really think this is the sequence of why you pick Alistar into Rell, but also just Trymbi playing it to perfection with the flash coming out, baiting in limit, and it just looks like, once again, disaster. This is in a specific scenario where they've already gotten a kill on Abba as well. But then it's over Reach, and is it a classic Fnatic thing? I mean, absolutely. I think this engage from Trymbi after having just a massive performance is then on the opposite side of the spectrum, where it's a little bit in that regard, and it turns into a disaster. The lead you gain for yourself has suddenly just turned into a lead for the side of XL, and not just with the kill that went over, but also the fact that Noah has to back. He's now giving up 1/2 wave. Patrik gets a plate for himself. The series suddenly gets accelerated, and it's like XL in the other game, where they got early game leads, then they couldn't play it, and now for Fnatic, that's kind of what happened.
Yes, but as we were watching, you two were also still agreed that the draft wasn't necessarily heaps better. How much % was it better from XL? So how much of a winning position were they in from this point in the game?
So I think if you really want evil Broxah to come out, you just need to make me talk about this draft. Because when I look at XL's draft, sure, they won the game, great for them, you know, sunshine and rainbows. They banned Renekton, the champion is 1-6 in LEC in Season Finals. They banned Xayah? What? We're giving the enemy team Kai'Sa? We're first picking Rell, giving them Ivern. Oh, guess what? Enemy team banned Maokai. We have to take Sejuani of all champs. Look at AD carry. We prioritize Siri, not only over Kai'Sa. Why don't we take Aphelios if we want the hyper carry? I have so many questions, and I cannot comprehend to understand it. I think, sure, great, it worked, but come on.
It's like a C-.
I mean, I think this showed a weakness in Fnatic and in some other aspects, because I think you can pretty much call every single pick that came through from Fnatic. The only one that I did not predict was actually the Kazante, because I thought they were really inviting the Jax coming into this. You saw it now. Poppy's out of the way, almost out of the way. I think if you actually decided to play more up towards that top side, you saw the hovers that came through, the Camille, the Jax. I think you could have taken Nova on side lane. I think you could have had a winning 2v2 on the bot side. And I think you could have had a mid lane as well that would be out poking and outranging the Ahri. But I think with the tools that they had for XL, where they could skirmish way easier, level 6, that's where it more adhered to the win conditions of XL as a team.
And it helps when Odoamne is on his game and he's on his Gnar and he gets a flank off and he gets a 4-man ultimate, as we're going to take a look at. You can't rely on that at all times, but I think there's a certain level of certainty that he's going to do that more oftentimes than not.
I also think here we're seeing one of Fnatic's clear weaknesses, which is a problem they've had the entire year. They see a champion, and they kind of turn their brains off a little bit for a moment and just flash forward, hoping for the best, not taking into consideration that all of XL can be here, that Odoamne is about to pop his Meganar, and all of a sudden, what initially for Fnatic clearly looked like a free kill turned into a huge and disastrous team fight.
I mean, Odo is also just such a beast on this champion. Sometimes with now we often think that it's not the best blind pick because there's so many counters to it. But if you do not go for it and you leave them unchecked, well then Odoamne will absolutely pop off. And in game 1, it was Oscar that ran away with it, completely dumpstered him. But in the second game, it was the opposite end of the spectrum.
Yeah, Broxah, tell me about how much influence you think this top lane matchup has had on the series and how much you think it will have moving forward.
I think it's going to have a lot of impact moving forward, because seeing these two players and that teams, like, they're not going to function if they're not having a good game. And we've already seen it in the series so far as well. Game 1, Oscarinin has a counter pick. He's able to take control and pressure, gets a pentakill on Gwen, of course, at the very end, which is the cherry on top. Odoamne now has a very favorable matchup into Cassandra early. And with that, the counter matchup, he also, manages to make a huge play and sets up his team for success. Now, it is worth noting that with Excel being expected to play the red side, they can easily get Odoamne a counter pick. So, sure, overall, for the team as a whole, Excel being on red is not ideal, but for Odoamne, it's great with the counter.
Ah, there we go. So there is a silver lining. We talked at the beginning about kind of the level of play. So I want to take a look at this 21-minute chaos. I think I called it buffoonery when I requested it in Slack. But regardless, yes, so Fnatic's like, oh, here's a Hail Mary.
Just look at the TP already from the beginning as well. With the ultimate, Oscar TPing what is essentially a 20-minute, or not 20 meters, little walk coming into it, and then into nothing. And then I think the big one is just when Patrik gets hit by this binding that froze a game that should never be lost over to Fnatic's favor. They still didn't lose it, but it certainly could have been from this point in the game now.
I think at this point, they just need to cut their losses. Everyone has to get out. If any other person dies, they lose Baron. Even with Patrik dying, it's very likely that Baron is already gone. But if you keep walking in here, especially now, 3 versus 5, what are you even going to do? Wait, it's not even 3v5. Look at Ahri. Ahri isn't base.
You think, like, certainly nothing stupider than that could happen, right?
Yeah, this is like a typical solo queue game, pretty much. That's why I called it bronze. Because if I see someone dying in solo queue, this is what I expect, to happen. People cannot hold back. They have to fight. They have to be the main character. They have to go for the, big 2v5 angle.
So tell me, right now, after this death, why is Humanoid, like, walking right there?
I mean, why is Trymbi and Oscar even looking for the Sjokz initially?
This is his highlight moment. This is where he gets the montage play off. Humanoid wants to be the hero of Fnatic instead of, again, just taking the tiny victory, taking the lead, pushing waves, setting up vision, doing everything in steps. But that's the problem with this game, and that's why it ended up being so random how it played out, because the teams are just not playing macro. They're just randomly fighting and hoping for the best, and whoever was, has the best mechanics ends up winning.
It's Fnatic sometimes hearing the voices of the absolute, the dark urge coming in, the voices. They have to go for the kill. They try to and overreach with it. But I mean, in all regards, even with the Baron going over there, you see the little dent in the goal graph. I think this game should have just been XL's from the beginning. The fact that they even became remotely close here was kind of ridiculous.
It was ridiculous indeed, and I was talking to you about it, Broxah, but I guess you could have a, from Fnatic side, it's like, well, this was a pretty lost game anyway, so the fact that we ended up throwing the little maybe remont that we would have had is kind of fine, I guess. But that means we're all squared out. We're 1-1 now going into this next game. Does Excel still have to fix their drafting despite winning that game?
Yes. Okay. I think if Excel keeps drafting the same way, I will not be rooting for them, because I think if they cannot draft better than that, they're going to get demolished by NA as a European fan. I don't want to see that.
We can't be having
I want to see improvement. I want to see them recognizing that maybe they've been baited by certain champions in scrims. Because the thing is, we saw it in this game. Like, sure, Excel were really far ahead, but some of the mistakes they made wouldn't have mattered as much if the draft was different. That would allow them to make a few, missteps here and there and not actually end up throwing the game entirely. But if you had a draft disadvantage from the get-go, you cannot allow yourself to mess up at any point, because if you do and if you fall behind, you're going to have your back, so tightly up against the wall that you have no chance of coming back.
Or they can take from the last game that, even if we draft suboptimally, we will still win the game.
Maybe we're going to see them 1-2ing Renekton, and evil Broxah is going to return flaming that draft. It's very possible.
You've been on fire. I mean, EU, what have you done to this man? He's just... Jesus. I heard that you've been playing a bit of top lane as well, so maybe that's...
Maybe it's the dark years in NA, actually. They've changed me. I'm not entirely sure at this point.
Regardless, we're going to go into the draft in a second. As we saw there, Fnatic will be moving on to the blue side. That's the first time in this series that they've had the choice to change up. So, by all accounts, are we going to just see a masterclass then from the blue side drafting?
So I am really curious to see how this draft plays out now that Fnatic has blue and that, you know, they're actually in the driving seat. Again, we're seeing Fnatic continue to ban Rumble and Maokai. If they are to follow the same recipe that they followed so far and that Matt followed, we're going to be seeing a Tristana, Excel, also still huge priority on Renekton and Sire.
I'm curious to see though if they want to go for the Tristana here, because if the Jayce is left over, then the Tristana is the counter, so there's always the possibility of first picking that. I think a Rell first pick is only really valuable if you're willing to flex it into the jungle, because if you're not, you're just going to be met with an Analyst and then you lose that 2v2 on bot lane instead. So I think they're taking their time for a reason here, with this in mind specifically, and instead of a Tristana, it is going to be the Sejuani instead.
What we are expecting here is an Ivern ban from Excel, because if they do not ban Ivern right now, they literally are not going to have any proper answer into him in the jungle. Of course, Peach can be confident and look for a Lee Sin, but then you're putting yourself in this situation where you literally cannot team fight. You need Maokai or Sejuani to deal with Ivern, and I really want them to ban it, please. Don't make me go evil again.
It's actually going to be...
It's an Ivern insta-lock. It's no
Rell here instead. Yeah, I mean, I do wonder, because like if you go Ivern here, then surely they will go Tristana on the other side. But LeBlanc is actually also up, which has been a huge priority for both teams, really. We saw Excel actually last time these two teams played against each other in summer. LeBlanc was one of the defining picks between the two of them. So with so many OPs being still up and available, it's really just going to be up to them to pick whatever they want to.
Sorry,
and it is going to be that Ivern.
You remind me of Froggen when you say LeBlanc.
I do it on purpose.
Oh,
the guy's a legend.
Okay. Anyways, there it is, Ivern.
That is one of the biggest surprises I've seen in a while. Who could have saw that coming? Now, like you mentioned, LeBlanc is open, Tristana is open, Jayce is open. Problem being that Excel can't really take them all. Like if you pick LeBlanc and Tristana, both of their, you know, roles have already been clear. Usually you want to save Tristana till a little bit later so you can continue flexing it. Again, we're seeing huge priority on Siri. Because obviously Siri is much stronger in this meta than many other AD carries that are open. I'm being a little bit sarcastic. I'll try to stop being so salty. I think...
Yeah, they can't see that you have like /S, so...
yeah, I think the Poppy is a pretty good response into Ivern. The best one available, really, because while Ivern overall is going to have a bigger impact in teamfights, Poppy can, you know, look for some early pressure and try to shut him down before he gets the skill.
I think Poppy is just so good as well, because it means that you can now look into support picks where you know they most likely won't actually go for the Rakan, go for the Alistar, unless they're willing to play that skill matchup into the Poppy with the W, which can be a bit tough. Now, Jayce does go over, which would probably insinuate that a Tristana will be coming out from Abbedagge. The AP scalings can come through from Sari as well, so it's not going to be the end of the world if that's the composition you're laying out with. I'm curious to see now if you want to go in for an AD carry before the second ban rotation. As it was maybe not the biggest issue, like Kai'Sa's still available here, you can go for it, but it's just going to be the Nautilus looking like it.
I'm really curious to see what Excel is going to do for their mid lane here, because Tristana is great into Jayce, but Abbedagge also had an incredible LeBlanc game last time these two teams faced up against each other. For now, we can expect them to lock in their support, I believe. Jayce can still be flexed by Fnatic, so it would make sense to, you know, hold on to the mid lane pick a little longer, make sure you get a priority support into the Nautilus, because Rell is already gone. Kai'Sa, very interesting.
It's a hover.
Ah,
Don't get baited. Oh,
well, I think in general, again, to me, it's a bit surprising locking in the mid laner over the support, because there's only so many options you're going to have available into Nautilus. You cannot really go Rakan. I mean, you can, but it's very hard to lane versus Naut. It's kind of a counter. Alistar is an option. Braum could be pretty great here.
I think Braum's the best.
But those options might now be limited.
Let's see if they also decide to go that route and maybe ban out a couple of supports they don't like, but we'll see. I've got Azir again. Wow, I've missed him. Have you?
I mean, for Abbe, for sure. I'm sure they've liked to have him with the champion again here. But yeah, I think going back to it as well. Braum into Nautilus, absolute horror matchup. Like laning phase when you play Nautilus, and just whatever you do in the mid game becomes so difficult. We've already seen it a bit in the EMEA Masters as well with the Seri Braum pairing that absolutely been doing work. So I think, although they are trying to thread down the top lane a little bit, I think it can be a bit dire if they just Braum on 4 as a counter pick into the Nautilus, and then have Odoamne with a counter pick on the top side.
But how this has been going, they're not going to ban it.
We'll see. There's still an option to secure the Braum ban. Noah obviously is going to have to dive a little bit deeper in his champion pool now that Xayah, Kai'Sa, Vedius have all been banned. Suri picked away, but I'm sure he's going to be able to find a matchup that he's still comfortable with. For Excel, it's going to be interesting to see, you know, what the support pick is going to be. I was about to say, if Braum is banned, it wasn't. It was Alistar instead. Rakan is a champion that would fit Limit's playstyle a lot,
Absolutely.
which was going to be my next point.
You two know nothing. Like,
Well,
what's going on?
So
No,
the
I'm
thing
kidding,
is,
I'm kidding.
Braum on paper is good. Braum on paper is good, but Limit is a playmaker,
Yeah.
and usually Excel will always force him onto a playmaker no matter what. And I think right here, they're basically saying, we don't really care what the team comp looks like. Everything is on the line. We're playing to qualify for Worlds. We need our players comfortable, and we want Limit to be engaged.
I'm
no
just
matter what.
jesting to get like the explanation out of you. I hope people. I'm not bullying them. Anyways, Jinx.
She's lying, guys. Please send help.
How we feel about Jinx?
I think it's an interesting pickup we haven't seen for a while. Also very immobile. The only thing that's going to be protecting her here is obviously a front line, but also the shields coming through from the Ivern.
I mean, an Ornn, an Nautilus, and Ivern, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, not the biggest lockdown right now. You can run away from a Poppy. The Azir will have to dive himself in. The Rakan is the biggest issue, but if Trymbi can keep Limit in check in terms of vision control, because a flank will be the most optimal option for Limit when he's playing the Rakan into Nautilus, that's going to be where Excel will try to accelerate it.
I absolutely love Excel locking in Sion here instead of going for a Camille, because going the side lane route could definitely work, knowing that in late game you would be able to beat both Ornn and Jayce. But at the same time, League often comes down to team fighting nowadays, and if they don't get a front line out of their own, Ornn, Ivern, Nautilus, they're just going to be taking over fights. Here, they have someone who can dive in very easily with Rakan to get the fight started. Azir and Siri can easily follow, Poppy can do her thing as well. And now, more than anything, compared to the last games, I would expect a little bit of a slower game, to be honest. Hard to say what's going to happen, because these teams are pretty bloody, but both of these comps, they want time. They want their core items, and then they just want to take over mid and late game when it comes to the Dragon and Baron fights.
Yeah,
And at the very least.
I think it's going to be really pivotal if you're the team that gets an edge here, because both of them are kind of front to back, where they can fully send it on with the range into Azir, where he can land the ultimate, but also Sion, where you can just try and lock Nautilus down immediately, because he will have to be the one that tanks it, or the Ivern. So yeah, it's going to be curious to see.
As we get into this game, let's see who takes it, XL or Fnatic.
Welcome back to Game 3, Fnatic versus XL. And after two explosive games, all about snowballing leads.
Clean League of Legends.
Clean, clean-ish League of Legends high. We've come to an interesting point in Game 3 where they've decided to completely 180 and handshaked on two very slow scaling drafts.
I thought you were about to go into David Attenborough there.
No.
Today on the Rift, we have the bird. Often seen in the western regions, it likes to use its fellow birds to do its work for it, often not being independent and relying on the work of others to be relevant and useful.
I'm trying to figure out if that's Swain or Azir.
Probably both.
A bit of A, a bit of B.
And you saw a brief moment. A Camille hovered. Instead, a Sion locked in. And now we can celebrate, because this is Odoamne's 300th LEC wins. Win. And now he's helping Peach out. Last year he was able to win the whole thing. See if he can replicate that this time around. Fnatic
We were joking beforehand about how like he came to the draft and he was like, Camille sounds really good here, guys. And the team was like, put a tank, Odo. And one day we'll get to see him back on Camille. Do you know, back in the day, right, when he was young and probably enjoyed League, he was known for his Jayce. Do you remember Worlds 2016?
Rumble, Jayce.
He was a carry top laner.
And then Prawley ruined him. Shout out to Prawley, wherever Prawley is.
Oh, that's a throwback.
Put him on the leash. Anyway, Odoamne, fun fact, 5th player to reach 300 wins after Jankos, Hilly, Reckless, and Caps. And speaking of 5ths, Oscarinin in Game 1 was the 5th top laner to get a pentakill in the LEC. So a lot of 5ths today.
So
and again, the parallels between these teams continuing to add up. I feel like we're going 5.
You're like a book writer, Daniel. The way that you just weave these narratives together, it's impressive.
Thank you. I just say things that are usually based in fact, and then people get mad at me. Like Excel have made a miraculous run. They're like, how dare he say that? It wasn't miraculous.
Yeah.
Just slightly surprising.
Good times.
Yeah. And again, this is the scaling zone. And remember, this is a very serious elimination series. And while neither team is, on match point at this stage, the drafts alone have kind of just dictated a pace of game where we don't expect a whole lot to happen short of some egregious mispositionings.
So, a couple things happened while we were discussing stuff. Peach did try to invade the Ivern. The invade did not go the way that he wanted. He wasn't able to steal away, well, really anything. Which means that knowing what Peach was up to and the fact that Razork could clear all of his top side, he immediately went over to Peach's blue and said, well, this is mine now, yoink. Thanks to Fnatic having push in bot. Trymbi could also assist him in this invade, and now we find Razork with an ever so slight lead and all of his bot camps still to clear. So Peach is going to be a little upset about that, but it shouldn't be too dramatic in the grand scheme of things.
Nope. Sitting pretty, sitting comfy. Curious to see what Noah can do on this Jinx. Big range advantage we get later into the game. Feels, of the two, like the more front-to-back style AD carry, even if Zeri is obviously a massive late-game monster.
Yeah, I think it's just the fact you've got the range on Humanoid and Noah should make the poking a little bit easier as you go on, especially if you go for a rapid-fire cannon on towards Noah as well. But watching Razork make his way down here. We'll be spotting the ward.
One battle dance already used, Q already used as well. Limit now leaping back, that's the hook coming in. Razork on the way down, Poppy coming in as well, but will they be a little bit too late here? Noah gonna be knocked up. Ultra Shock Laser not quite gonna connect. Patrik getting lower and lower. Peach on the way in, but it's too little, and it's most certainly too late. That's a route there on the Limit. He ain't got anybody to leap back to. The W not coming up nearly in time, and Peach flashing out to safety, but it might just be 3 because Razork wants to keep it going. Damn, you're scaling. Fnatic do not mess around on the bottom side of the map.
The flash from Razork secures another for Noah. And Noah didn't even have to burn his own flash in that play as well. So you get everything out of Patrik, everything out of Peach, and include a triple kill on top of it. Beautiful stuff for Fnatic.
I mean, so it starts with Trymbi getting a great initiation off. Limit tries to shield, but he ends up going behind Patrik, allowing Trymbi to connect the hook. Then Limit is just trying to buy space for Patrik to, well, get away as quickly as he can, but Peach gets rooted up by Razork, delaying his engagement in the fight, which means that Noah is free to hit onto the AD carry. Another great hook connects from Trymbi, and then we'll see a final skill shot land from Razork to secure the final kill. Ends up being a double for Noah, but still 3 kills secured on the bot side of the map. And now Oscarinin sees an opportunity, Razork on his way.
Odoamne, most certainly dead, but can he take anybody with him? At least trading flash for flash. Zombie Sion will retreat under his tower before realizing maybe he should go back and hit the wave.
4 kills for Fnatic, 5.5 minutes in. They came to play in Game 3, and I wonder if this series will just be determined by whoever can get the leads in the early game. Right now, Fnatic is off to a fantastic start. Nothing that XL can't bounce back from, but XL do have a bit of a history in summer of getting a lead and then not really letting go.
As you said, it just has been the story across the series thus far. The compositions this time around definitely not quite as strongly snowbally, as Trymbi is going to be interrupted. They're not quite able to hook to the wall, so a quick pick onto the support. Maybe not quite as quick as initially expected, but Patrik will grab that kill.
I was about to praise Fnatic as well. The fact that XL hadn't really got control over mid or bot meant that they couldn't really force the dragon, but Trymbi stuck around that a little bit too long and actually gave a kill over towards XL, so at least it'll get them something back into this bottom lane to help out Patrik with the 2 kills that have gone across to Noah, but just need to be a little bit careful, as you say. Fnatic have been very good at keeping control when they get these leads, but little mistakes like that would definitely help XL getting their foot back into this game.
What's the saying? A difficult journey begins with a single step, and in this case, XL's step was stepping on Trymbi, getting a kill, and funneling that goal into Patrik. Still a very difficult journey ahead of them, as Noah 2-0-1 on this Jinx, a champion that we've all experienced You only need to give her a bit of gold and she can snowball out of control.
And the bigger concern, of course, is, you know, once she's able to go back and buy an item, is just how quickly can she shred through these towers to free up the rest of the map to maneuver. While both these teams are front to back, there's a lot of, you know, non-committal engage with that Ornn on the top side. Makes it so easy to zone people off defending, and that 1-2 punch of having the Jinx makes it nigh impossible to defend these structures if she gets too far ahead.
You know, often we discuss the realism of items being bought by certain characters depending on their class. I find it very realistic that Jinx would buy 2 daggers. You know? It just kind of...
One for each dad?
Yeah.
Wow. What? I'm sorry, what?
I think you broke Ben.
That was a pragmatic answer.
I was not expecting that. I'm crying. That was funny.
And concerning.
Oh, yeah.
Don't know what she's going to do with the quiver, though, without a bow. That item doesn't really make sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Patrik now following up. Hello. Meanwhile, in the world of League of Legends, we remain in a very important elimination series. 2K gold lead for Fnatic. They're going to grab this Herald uncontested.
Yeah, I think the fact you had Oscarinin who go, I was about to say...
never mind, not uncontested. Very much contested. They have begun contesting, and they will steal it away. Abbedagge coming in as well. The Ornn horn getting blown, but it is too damn late. He just kind of wandered in and took that one.
I thought it was going to be good for Fnatic because, again, you got Oscarinin who's commanding top lane against Odoamne. So you push in the wave. You got Humanoid who should have control over mid and be able to push in there as well. But they're a little bit late where they hadn't got control of both top and mid. So XL are like, great. I mean, we just get to come in here. We get to contest you. And a fantastic ultimate from Peach, making it a 2v3, means that XL get the steal and they get themselves a nice little bump up in the gold value.
I mean, Peach's ultimate was so valuable, right? The fact that it created what was, well, effectively a 3 versus 1, made it so easy to isolate Razork, get that kill, secure the Herald as well. You know, we talked about this being a difficult journey back into the game for XL, but that's another big step that they've just taken. Herald means that they can funnel a little bit of gold back into, ideally, Patrik is where they want to get it to help close that gold gap between the 280 carries, but they do also have options in mid to try and help this Azir reach those power spikes even sooner. Dragon is now available. Keep our eyes on the mid lane. I'm seeing Abbedagge. Is he going to look for a back? So this could be a bit risky here because Humanoid will now have access. He's also going to choose to reset, so no Dragon will be started. Smart call from XL. They know their mid lane is going back to base. They're not going to take the gamble.
Yeah, and I think for Humanoid as well, he's kind of aware, look, realistically, we need to get bot lane pushed out for Noah first so I can actually reset, get myself a little bit more damage in the back pocket, and then start to move back out onto the map as this mid, or bot lane even, starts to crash as well. Still have to be careful though, as you say, because with Peach having that Rift Herald, so it could easily be a case of, hey, look, we're just going to try and defend bot lane, use Rift Herald there to, or in mid lane to try and get control, so then we can try and fight for the dragon. But I mean, 10 minutes in, it's still the first dragon to be taken.
Yeah, much slower pace around these dragons. Dragons scaling a significant portion of why XL were able to hold on to their lead despite questionable fight around Baron. But Fnatic weren't quite able to take the Herald, but will be able to grab this Infernal. XL still waiting to see what they're going to use the Herald for. Bit difficult on the bottom side of the map to get much done, so can't imagine they'll use it there. Maybe look to break open top lane. Kind of a tricky time to have a Herald.
We'll see how they end up using it. Top side of the map needs to be cleared from Peach. He's going to be pathing towards bot regardless. Razork, though, still hovering around bot lane. Not sure what he can really find here. His top camps are up in an ideal world. He'd love to go and grab them. But he wants to make sure that it's safe for Noah to push in. Oscarinin. Very nice trading onto Odoamne.
Yeah, I think they're trying to see if Razork can hover here in this bot side, so then you can maybe look for another turret plate. Again, just snowball this Jinx even further out of control. The fact that you got to start Cole, get 2 kills and assists as well, means that Noah is very firmly in a good spot. But the more gold you can get on, the quicker you get towards the rapid fire cannon, the quicker you can start to become a real nuisance for XL with the amount of range and poke that can come out from Humanoid. And again, like, because XL haven't really been able to accelerate the pace of the game from that bottom side with like dragons and that kind of stuff, it feels like you're going to get into a position where Noah is just going to be massive in these later fights.
And now, with the Cole procced, an instant 300 gold addition to an already 700 gold lead. So, Kraken Slayer, 12 minutes into the game, feels pretty damn good for Noah. Gonna make fights against the double tank topside that much easier if he's just given time to free hit the front line. But Excel determined to make a play, immediately leaping in onto Humanoid. They don't quite have the damage limit, now trying to back out. Peach now trying to follow up and finish the job with the shield. Razork out of nowhere, saving the day, stopping the play in its tracks.
XL, they seem disjointed. You saw the commitment in from Limit. Abbedagge didn't want to flash ultimate in. And because of that kind of, the fact that they kind of engaged, disengaged, and re-engaged gave Razork enough time to react, get the shield onto Humanoid. He TP's back in. Nice slide there from Abbedagge to avoid the big damage. But wow, Fnatic secures themselves another kill. Great flash from Trymbi as well to lock up Peach underneath the tower. And just like that, Fnatic are in a great spot. And this Herald now not going to be used as optimally as they would like.
And to be fair to them, that Herald was gift wrapped by Fnatic. So if there was ever a Herald not to have, this one certainly doesn't hurt too much.
Now there is a sign in the audience of someone that's specifically here to encourage the Herald. So someone here needs to show that level of support right now, because this Herald needs all that support. Come on, Shelly, you can do this.
Sign up. You came here for one reason, sir, and it was to support this beautiful woman on your screen as she lives her lifelong desire to smash into towers. Here she goes. Yes. So they do get some gold out of the Herald, is the good news.
That they do.
And it goes into the pockets of kind of the appropriate person at this stage. That said, still a 2.2k gold lead for Fnatic's bottom side. Really, the only silver lining for Excel is that 1,200 of that is in Trymbi's pocket, which is not going to mean too much.
Excel trying to set up a bit of a catch here, though. Peach will start up the Raptors. I think he knows Fnatic are here. It's just a bait, though.
Knock back to the wall. Over the wall is Humanoid. Patrik immediately. They're just going to be happy to pick up Razork. Do not want to overcommit for anything else, learning from their previous mistakes. Full committing to a single member in this case.
And nicely done by XL here. I mean, they're starting to get a couple of picks back, right? Started off with 4 kills immediately for Fnatic. Now we're starting to see that gold lead shrink just a little bit. And the fact you're getting kills onto Patrik again is making such a massive difference. Has matched the first item coming through from Noah now. And if this area can actually get rolling, you can continue to play for these dragons. That feels like that's XL's window into this game.
Yeah, fantastic to have the static shiv as well. Obviously, has been a frustrating item in patches past, and certainly on this patch as well, but lets him at least match a little bit of the wave clear that Jinx can bring to bear, so it's not just Jinx pushing out and leaving the pressure elsewhere on the map.
I respect Noah using that ultimate to try and steal a Gromp. And then ults, you know, what else is he going to use it for? May as well get as much gold as you can. Level 10 now ticked over for Noah. Level 10 for Patrik as well. Looking at the resets on the map, Abbedagge just come back to base, picked up his item as well, so he's going to be making his way back out. Dragon spawning in 35 seconds means that Fnatic should have priority on this. But look at these 2 deep wards in the enemy jungle. Odoamne does have the TP. Our observers are highlighting it now. Those are potential some flank opportunities if XL do want to fight this.
Patrik reset super late, though. I don't know if you can really get in a position here as XL to fight this. I'd actually rather see them give it up and maybe go for the Rift Herald instead. But you do have to be careful. I mean, Noah could just immediately take bot side, but I just don't really feel like you're in a position to contest this as XL because of that late reset from Patrik.
Well, the reset has come in from Odoamne. He's now got himself the Jack Show, making his way down mid. Oscarinin as well. I feel like we're getting a brawl around this dragon.
Peach hex flashing over the wall, spotting out Trymbi. Knocking him back to the wall, the immediate follow-up, not quite there. There's no damage. Nobody else is hitting the priority target, and now Peach is the one who has been caught out. Noah throwing down a bit of damage, but the Keeper's verdict will stop the fight in its track, and now Oscar burning, ticking, caught between the entire team of XL. He won't even get a chance to knock the horn back as Patrik on a killing spree. Abbedagge ready to respond to this TP from Humanoid a little bit premature as he's instantly taken down. Fnatic. Sloppy play matched with sloppy play as Peach initially gets over-aggressive, but it's Fnatic who overcommit to try to save Oscar.
Very scrappy back and forth. The hook connects onto Odo, but I don't think he's going to care about that. The dragon is up for grabs for XL. And just like that, the gold gap has eviscerated. Well played from XL, being able to turn that one around. As you rightly said, Drakos, it looked very sketchy at the start. But we'll see. I mean, like, that TP from Humanoid, the placement of it was just very questionable. I wonder if he thought that the fight would devolve into something greater, which means that his TP couldn't be focused in on, but it was so easy for XL to immediately focus him the moment that he arrived.
Yeah, I mean, this is where Fnatic, they've given up control over River, and Trymbi taking a bit of a shortcut, gets caught out as Peach is able to come in. And I expected at this stage that XL, with that knockback, they're just immediately able to turn in onto Oscarinin, who'd managed to find himself in a weird spot. And as you say, like, I don't know what Humanoid's thinking this play is going to turn into. That ultimate is never going to pop off. You've already got Abbedagge moving across from River, so you're way, way overextended here as Humanoid as well. So both TPs come back to bite them, and I think he realized it himself.
Yeah, it does look like it, doesn't it? He realizes that he couldn't really do much with that. Gold lead now ever so slightly swung towards XL.
But the AD carry difference, dead even from what was a massive lead built partially because of the coal that Noah was able to pick up for himself. 4 kills now to Patrik. And gentlemen, we're right back at square one. Here we are. That's it. Didn't know if I was going to get to use it after they murdered each other in the early game. Yeah, I did. Got to keep it simple for the people at home. Sometimes they mute the stream. They get tired of our jokes. They need to be able to read what we're saying, and right now we're saying it's time for a fight, but Peach, a tragic angle, not quite able to get the follow-up, but now Limit finally there. Is there any more damage? No, Noah's still standing. Patrik is going to need to full commit to the fight to try to get anything else done, but Noah remains untouched. Abbedagge leaps in, scoops him back into the waiting arms of XL, and Patrik just continues free-firing. Humanoid versus the world, and Humanoid will get taken down. A triple for the Zeri in the midst of the fight.
From a subtitle to a subplot to a main character, you're able to pop off there as Patrik picking up 7 kills now on this Zeri. You talked about the scale of it, they just lobbed all that gold immediately into him.
So Odoamne, he's checking the Rift Herald, he sees that the fight is happening, he's getting chunked down to half, but he's happy to absorb that. Then Peach dives in, Limit can easily follow up. But watch Patrik here on the backline. He's going to flash into the fight to get his ultimate off onto as many people as possible. He then becomes the focus, so Abbedagge can just slide in through the middle of Fnatic, gets the 2-man ultimate off, commits the flash this time round, and Noah ends up dropping to allow for Patrik to clean up the fight.
And I gotta say, well played by Abbedagge in the fight. 2-0-5, not, you know, a good scoreline, maybe not the prettiest, as he's not able to grab so many of those kills for himself, but the scoop in the fight there really making the difference, because while Limit and Peach did find the initial engage, there wasn't an initial set of follow-up damage. Noah was actually out of range if it wasn't for that Azir shuffle, so XL getting the better of Fnatic in the fight. The tide's quickly turning more and more in their favor. 2K gold lead. And it's the swing between the AD carries alone is so massive in the last 10 minutes of the game.
And it feels like it's so hard now for Fnatic to try and get back control, because one of the big things was, well, yeah, we got poke, we got range, we can try and play through that, but now that you're giving control to XL, you're then face-checking into Peach, into Odoamne, even into Limit as well, and that lack of vision opens up this team to play so much more aggressive, and in particular Patrik, to be able to close that gap in towards fights where Fnatic just can't really use Humanoid and Noah to the same extent as they could if they had that lead.
An interesting situation we find ourselves in now, 20 minutes in.
It's a hearty silence there. Because honestly, that fight turned into a lot more than I initially expected, but neither side with a significant enough advantage to really immediately force a Baron. XL really trying to leverage the lead that they do have to take control of that area.
You've also, well, I mean, Fnatic's is a little bit stronger, but throughout this series, you've had like side lane threats, you know, whether it be the Gnar or whether it be the, I've forgotten all of the champions in game 1. The Gwen, that was the one I was thinking of, yeah.
Lots of Casantes.
Yeah, there's things that you can like provide threat with in a side lane. You can't really with both these comps unless you send Humanoid off who can like catch waves, generate a bit of pressure, but it's a lot of just grouping, right? You have your tank push out a wave and then they group first to try and force TP out from your opposition. And so a lot of the way that these comps works is very revolving around neutral objectives. So you're waiting for the dragons, you're waiting for the barons, and that's really where a lot of the action we expect to happen. So 30 seconds till that dragon spawns, it's likely where we're going to see our next fight.
I do agree that we're going to be waiting, but it's just a case of how much space Fnatic have to give up while they're waiting. Because you have Peach, you have Limit who have these great engage tools, right? But there's no one really on Fnatic who is actually able to tank a lot of that if you have Oscarinin off in the side lane. So you can see it on that bottom side where the second XL's 4-man unit rock up. Fnatic have got to disperse because they just don't have the health bars to really deal with them. So I wouldn't be surprised to see this becoming a bit of a trend as XL now want to try and get onto Humanoid, who's in that top side.
Posturing.
Fnatic here.
Trying to cover these side lanes. Odoamne ready to commit. Limit certainly a good angle for an engage. I mean, he's going to throw down the Steadfast Presence.
We saw Fnatic commit heavily to securing that top tower. And I wonder if their expectations were that XL would cross-map for the Dragon and they were happy to concede that in order to get that pressure top while also securing vision around Baron. Instead, XL have responded with 5 top. They've now started the Baron after clearing out this vision. TP from Humanoid.
Very confident play. Accelerate a massive summoner spell disadvantage. Not a lot of flashes left for their carries. A knockback coming through. Baron now taken down. Bold call from Excel paying off thus far. But how many members can make their way out? The immediate flat forward from Trymbi. Reset gonna come in from Noah. One very excited Jinx. The knock up on a Peach. At least 2 members gonna get taken down. Zombie Odo in their midst. Will not be able to find a kill. Peach making it out to safety. 4 members of Excel standing strong with the Baron buff.
I mean, Excel will be happy with that. They managed to get out with just dropping Odo, so they'll be able to group up, still use that Baron buff to full extent. Fnatic, though, should be able to get this Dragon. Will probably trade it for mid-turret as well, so it's a good injection of gold into Fnatic. But as long as Excel are able to fully utilize this Baron buff, they should come out on top.
I mean, Excel caught Fnatic completely unawares. We already talked about what Fnatic's expectations were, but for them to just rush this Baron, Fnatic, they tried to respond, but look at this ultimate onto Razork, yeeted out of the pit. No opportunity for a smite steal. Oh my word.
A little bit of an opportunity.
There was an opportunity there. I was incorrect. Still, does get secured by Excel. And as you rightly said, they only end up losing Odoamne. So it's overall a great trade for Excel. Now they can begin their siege.
And the most impressive thing, again, both their carries did not have flash in that fight. That could have gone so much worse for them. The confidence to pull that trigger in that situation, seeing that small window of opportunity, good for Excel now as they get closer and closer to a 5K gold lead. Abbedagge becoming a bigger and bigger side lane threat. And again, Azir not normally who you would consider a side laner, but if you put him against an Ornn, I think he's going to be just fine.
Yeah, I think it's just you don't really have any damage if you end up having the jungler rock up, right? Like, Ivern's not really going to do anything along Oscarinin. Although Fnatic setting up the line, saying you maybe won't hopefully pass, but I'm not as convinced as Fnatic are with this.
All right, Gandalf, we're going to need you to up the confidence just a little bit here. They think they might potentially not be able to pass here. Fnatic burning a lot of resources to contest the wave here. But Excel certainly looking like a Balrog at this stage. Do they have the tools to fight? Peach going to certainly take away one of them as Oscar just gets instantly knocked out of the fight. Trymbi now going to get engaged on Ornn now being blown. Can they try to turn and burn this one? Patrik knocked up. Front line slowly but surely getting burnt down. Noah untouched on the backside. Big knockup coming in from Oscar. Rocket not quite going to find purchase. Abbedagge going for the scoop. He'll find Razork, but he gives his own life. No, goes golden. Buys a moment, but certainly he will fall. Another carry down, and Noah now chasing. The turn comes back from limit, but it's a bit premature. The knockup not there. Yes, he catches it. Oh no! The decimating smash. One misstep from Noah. All it takes. Peach now on the chase. Humanoid taken out, and it's the tanks versus the world in an absolute bloodbath on the bottom side.
Whoa, nice steps from Oscar.
Nowhere to go.
They thought they thought they had it. They thought they were getting off the wiper. They're getting off the gray screen. Fnatic can't hold on, and Excel pick up the kills.
Wow, what a chaotic fight. Excel just barely walk away victorious, but it starts off with all this focus onto Odo. Then Oscar gets yeeted out of the fight. But look at how long Trymbi survives here. The redemption, the shields, everything. He's soaking up so much damage, which means that Limit is forced to back away. Peach is forced to back away. Abbedagge tries to make the play. Noah sees it happening, and he's able to create enough space, which means that Abbedagge loses his life. And then Noah sees the window. He's like, I can get the turnaround. Nice sidestep. Gets the pick onto Limit. But then he gets knocked up by Odoamne. And then that secures the kill for Odo, and then the cleanup comes in from Excel.
In this case, a literal game of inches.
Yeah.
Half an inch, couple pixels. And
It could have been Noah cleaning up that whole fight.
18 HP on Peach as well. He just barely manages to make it out. Such a close fight. Maybe closer than it needed to be, but Excel, credit to them.
I'm telling you, man, bot lane, Baron buff, it always gets smashed. It's just, I mean, you'd think teams have learned by now, but...
Peach hooked here. Not a ton of follow-up damage. Patrik still uncontested over the wall, but they are fighting into the funnel. Peach now going to try to fish for the knockback. Will knock Daisy and Oscar out of the fight. Knockup going in on Noah, and this time the immediate follow-up is there. The scoop back will connect. Double coming in for Abbedagge. Patrik knocked up as well, but he has the GA. He has the luxury. The gold advantage has bought him an extra life, and now Excel can push in and look for the win.
This has to be it, Excel. They're marching forward. Oscarinin is running for the hills as Fnatic are bleeding, and Excel want to take the lead in the series.
Pushing in for now. Creep wave a bit delayed. 20 seconds on Razork, 14, 22 on Noah. Trymbi ticking down. Surely they can close. TP there for Odoamne as well. This should just be the end. Oscar, no ult to speak of. Can try to clear the way, but Odoamne is just so damn tanky. I don't even think they need one. Oscar going for the knockup. Trymbi in the area. They need to buy time for the Jinx. They need to stop committing. The Nexus is just not going to happen. Eyes on the prize. What is it going to happen? How damn close is it? Patrik uncontested for now. Abbedagge getting slowly pushed away. They've got the man advantage. They'll close it out cleanly. Pulling away from the objective. Not overcommitting. Not focusing too much on trying to end. They will grab it in the end. Excel move to match point.
These games are ended surprisingly fast. I guess because what we expected to be scaling compositions got heavily accelerated in the early game with so much back and forth fighting. But XL, that Baron play really cemented themselves with the lead. Great confidence from them. And a much overall cleaner performance compared to game 2.
Yeah, a great read on the reset from Humanoid there, spotting that he wasn't going to be in position. They just cleared out all the vision, so it was going to be a very far back TP for Humanoid to get into the equation, and it meant that they were able to steal it. So nicely done by XL, and now find themselves 2-1 up in the series from realistically from the start of that game. I didn't think I was going to be saying.
Oh yeah.
Well, and based on what we saw last week into the first game of today's series, I was worried that Excel wouldn't get to show us much of anything here in the season finals. But these last 2 games, you know, game 1 incredibly snowbally, game 3, or game 2 rather incredibly snowbally, game 3, an even match and some blows, but Excel really taking over around that key objective. Fnatic, though, don't look too out of sorts. Still some smiles on some faces. Have to hope that they can rally and come back here in our 4th game.
They have to, right? 1 game away from their season being over. No chance of Worlds qualifying series, no chance of anything. This could be it for them.
Certainly could be. That's enough from us here at the Caster Desk cover. Let's send it back to the analyst to see what they make of the series thus far.
Thank you so much. I guess starting with this 3rd game, which has been the best showing we've seen from Excel, as I lost. Can you guys talk to me?
Yeah.
Hello.
I can hear you.
Hello.
Perfect.
What's up? Yeah.
Excellent. Anyways, so they can be really, really happy with that. But I have such a hard time looking past the monumental throw that was, you know, the beginning of that game for Fnatic, and then what happened later that I'm completely startled.
I mean, it comes down to a simple thing. I mean, you go 4-0 in the beginning with the Jinx taking over. You have an AD carry to play through. We so often say that this series has been maybe not decided, but a lot of the attention has been around the Drakes, and that gets thrown away. There's no thing you can break down except that Fnatic's decision-making around some of the fights they took were just bad. And that's just the sad reality of it.
Yeah, maybe we'll get the Drake fight in a second, since you called it up, Guldborg.
And I think what's so pivotal as well is just the fact that Oscar's already been chunked up on the top side. So when he's coming with the TP, he's half HP. Humanoid does have teleport, but it's coming in so late compared to the rest of the team. A member already knocked out by the Jinx. Oscar coming, the puppy. Oscar coming in now, half HP. He's not a tank. He can't even get his ultimate off before he finally falls down. And Humanoid, well, he's stuck in the CC bouncy castle. He never gets to play the game either. And at this point in time, it's just a shame. The Seri that was so far behind the Jinx is now the one leading the charge.
It's just one of those cases where Fnatic, again, is not fully on the same page, because, sure, there's a champion that you can all in and potentially kill, but you need to take everything into account. And here, Humanoid, he had no way of joining the fight before it was already lost. If they had taken that into account, waited just 5 seconds, it could have been an actual 5v5 and they may have had a chance to win, but because they were not patient enough, it was completely doomed.
It was, and that is so frustrating, and we can talk about kind of the mental impact of that a little bit after this, because first we do have to herald XL for what they did in this game, and they kept their resilience, and they made sure that they found ways back into this game.
It's almost just a back-to-back fight as well here, where the Drakes just happened, now a Drift Held, and it's just falling apart again.
And here the problem is that Noah and Jinx has no flash available. We can see Patrik in the back free hitting, and this is what these, front-to-back team fights are all about. Which AD carry can hit for free? Because Noah has no flash, because he's having a hard time, Abbedagge can easily jump on him, flash behind him, scoop him in. And look at Patrik this entire fight. He's just chilling, enjoying life. No one can ever reach him, and all of a sudden, this is the face that we're looking at. He looks very confident, and for a good reason.
Yeah, very early lock-in of the Zeri as well, right? That we were kind of, saying, okay, you're going for it again, but it worked out against an ADC that was building up such an advantage. That is insane. I hope that in their team conversations, Noah is not watching this and seeing this stat line, because that is so incredibly frustrating. This next replay that we want to look at, maybe they're looking at the same one, but Broxah, you just said, grab this. This is crazy.
Yeah, so I think in general, there were a lot of crazy fights this game, but obviously this one was no exception. We're seeing Excel pushing out bot with the Baron buff available. The fight starts. They're looking to kill Trymbi, but because Ivern is there, he actually lives for a very long time. Now, most of XL is low. Abbedagge goes for a big play on the Azir. Has stopwatch, but no way of really getting out. And now, because Abbedagge went so deep on the Azir, no one wants to turn the fight. But look at Odoamne, look at the Sion Q. Noah is so fast, couldn't control the movement speed, walks up, dies. And now, the fun part, my favorite part of this fight begins. It reminds me of watching, you know, supports battling. It's tanks. No one deals damage. Oscarinin does a really good job buying so much time. Was so close to killing Peach, but didn't manage to make it happen. And again, this fight, it was so incredibly close. And I think that's one of the things that makes this series so crazy, because it doesn't really matter where's the big lead. The fights are just out of control.
And you both called it out when the Sion got locked in. You could have gone for different things in that R5 position as well, but you called it out at the beginning, both of you. It's going to come down to some of these skirmishes, and it's going to come down to some of these team fights.
But I'll be honest, when we called that out, we expected slower gameplay,
yeah,
not
true,
this kind of gameplay we saw here, because it was like, we'll scale, we'll take it slow, and that's not what we got. We got teams who were willing to fight from the get-go, willing to get that advantage, and yeah, I think the Sion Q in that last team fight was also super pivotal. The knock-up, if that doesn't come through there, that might just be Noah that cleans up, and all of a sudden the game is back in Fnatic's favor.
It might be, but it's not, and it's XL that it's on match point. We're seeing Fnatic right there. The troops are together. They're having their discussions, and you know, we talked about the weight of the organization before, and I'm pretty sure you're feeling it. Even if you don't feel, of course, the weight of the people that have worn that jersey before you, you're still playing for Fnatic, and you're still a pro player that wants to make it to Worlds. And now you are so close to not even getting that chance, Broxah. So how do they rally, and do you see them rally?
I think, as a Fnatic player, there's a certain enjoyment in making fans, you know, feel pressured, feel a bit nervous, and maybe they can make the miracle run happen.
You're doing it for the plot? Is that what you're saying?
I don't want to come across as biased, but like on a serious note, obviously, XL, with what we've seen so far, should be winning. But at the same time, Fnatic has done miracle runs so many times in the past.
So has XL recently.
Well, it's like Fnatic, but at the same
force.
time, they would have to stop Fnatic from making it to Worlds, which is a very, very difficult thing to do.
Yeah, it's true. It would be Fnatic about to miss Worlds for the first time since 2016, and XL would get their revenge right after Fnatic ended their run to Worlds in 2022 in a reverse sweep. It's all coming back, and the members may not be the same, but we have to say it for the people that love the drama just like we do. But look, XL, very close now. Guldborg seem to have righted the ship after the disastrous draft. That was game one, and I think the shaky land legs we've seen out of them out of their entire season final so far. Do you feel they've turned a new leaf?
I think not necessarily fully, because some of the early games and some of the decisions are still going back a big bad back and forth, especially in this series.
Good point. They did let 4 kills through.
Exactly.
Like
but I do think if they stabilize that and they continue with getting the early game ahead, and then actually can clean it out from the mid to the late game, that's where the improvement lies, and that's where we should continue to look at XL's. Sorry, I got nothing extra. That's just XL's continuation of the improvement, I suppose.
Sure, there we go. Words. We love him. I love him.
Thank you.
You're a true walking dictionary. Go ahead, Broxah.
What I like about XL is that we can call them out for a lot of things. Their early game, their drafting. None of it is flawless, but it's League. Nothing is ever going to be flawless, even if you watch the freaking World Final. It doesn't matter. What the difference is right now is them actually being a team, because we're seeing Fnatic having very little synergy in a lot of these fights, and there's usually one member who's doing something completely else than the rest, being on a completely different page. If XL can continue being a unit and just playing as a 5-man team, they should be able to bring this home, because it's all coming down to team fights. It's been the same for all of the games. It's probably going to be the same for Game 4 as well.
It all comes down to this. It is all on the line after the break. Can Fnatic take us to Game 5 in Silver Scrapes, or is it over and out? Find out after this.
Okay, Patrik, I'm done. I'm done. I'm not dying to it too again.
Got anybody to leap back to the W, not coming up nearly in time, and Peach flashing out to safety, but it might just be 3 because Razork wants to keep it going. Damn, you're scaling.
Look at the TP, look at the TP.
Ivern.
Yeah.
Jinx first, Jinx first.
Yeah, okay. Chase. I'm zoning Jinx.
Nice.
I'm going so. Look, Jinx, kill Jinx. We got it.
I think play it ready. Jayce. Nice. Let's go. I'm pushing top.
Nice.